Sitting down with head coach Thomas Bachman. And, Coach, welcome to another episode of whatever it is that we're doing.
Hey, glad to be with you, man. Glad to be with you.
Yeah, we had the opportunity to talk a little bit during the week. And, man, I think everybody's getting excited and ready for football.
Yeah, it's been, the summer goes fast. I mean, we're finishing up week through. We got another week next week, and then the kids will get a week off, and then July goes really fast. And, then you're in the fall camp, and, yes, you're right. We're getting really close to the season, still a little bit of time to continue to prep, but it's going fast.
So one of the things that we're going to do, and we'll talk a little bit about the summer and what's going on with the 7-on-7s and different things like that, but we're starting off our 10-week season preview tonight. So we'll take a look at the overall schedule, but really focus in on your week one opponent, West Feliciana. Next week, we'll come in and we'll take a look at Union Parish and Destrehan. And folks that haven't seen the schedule, you and I talked about it last year and said, I don't know if I'm going to make this schedule as difficult as it was. Well, you're right. It's a little more difficult.
Yeah, I don't know if you set out to make it any particular way. People are looking for games, and you get to calling around, and you just find matchups. I think some of it's about going to new places and seeing new things, and that's certainly been the case for us. And the schedule just is what it is. And again, you don't have to make it very difficult because our district is just so good. It's so well coached. It's so well. So many good players, just a combination of great communities, great players, great coaches, and it makes it a lot of fun, and certainly puts the challenges in front of you, whether you want them or not.
Well, and one thing to it, and this is not in the slightest a slight to West Ouachita, but you lose West Ouachita and go and pick up a pretty solid Neville Tiger program.
Yeah, Neville's been one of the historic programs in our state, winning championships back into the 40s or the 50s. I'm not sure, but I know they've won a state championship in every decade since like the 40s or 50s, something like that. I mean, it's been forever, and so many great coaches that have come through that program, so many great players. And so, yeah, the challenge of adding them to our district, just made the district even better.
Well, you saw them put back-to-back freshman offensive linemen starting down at LSU with going back to Campbell a couple of years ago, and that just tells you, I mean, they've got some players up there.
Yeah, great players, great coaches, great tradition. That machine will continue to roll on with Coach Collins. Obviously, the experience that he has and the things that he's seen. A great program.
Look, we got about 9 weeks until we get to talk about them.
That's right.
We could talk about them all night as well. Tell me what's been going on. Summer, some 7-on-7s. When we spoke last time, you were looking around at some 7-on-7s, getting ready to go, and you've probably got a couple of them under your belt. How's that going?
It's going well. Yeah, we've got a couple now. I guess the past 2 weeks we've been heavy on Thursday, 7-on-7, and then last Friday we went up and played in. I call it Benton. It's Coach Moore. He puts it on through his nonprofit, his charity that he's got that, funds and sends missionaries out. We went up and played in him. He runs such a great tournament. It's on schedule. It's on time. The competition is great. So, got beat in the quarterfinals by Evangel in a really tight one-possession game. Came down to an extra point that we didn't make, and, they were able to move on. I think they went on and got beat in the championship. I think Airline won the tournament, but a lot of great competition, saw a lot of good things. We were actually playing JT at receiver just because we were a little bit, we didn't have Darius. We were without a couple of Alex and some of the guys. So you're shuffling lineups and getting a chance to look at people in different roles and then how people perform in those things. And so I'm really proud of the kids and their ability to adapt to whatever's thrown at us in those situations.
They gave you an opportunity to look at Vaughn a lot more back there at running back, and he's just a blessing back there.
Yeah, no, really excited about him, and there's a lot of good senior personnel there with that offensive skill group, and that's played a lot of ball for us, and so obviously. While people got a little taste of Vaughn last year, hopefully they get to know him as for the people that follow Ash football, he becomes a household name where, he gets to showcase what his talents are, and they're certainly
Well,
there.
anybody that's followed the program certainly knows that it's not a one-man show by any means, and it hasn't been in years. Back in that backfield, you've been able to find different running backs, and this year's no different.
Yeah, no, excited about the group, and it'll continue to sort itself out from as we get in this thing and week to week, but feel good about that group. And then defensively, there's some back. Jaden Lewis is back, and Gaines played quite a bit last year, and he's back. Jay Frazier played here and there, and he's got a couple of years of being out there and being in it. And we got a kid out at corner, Kyron Griffin, that we think is going to be another great one.
Going to be another great corner.
Chance to be another one of the great just players, because by the time he's done, he's just going to be a sophomore. By the time he's done playing, there's no telling what all he'll play before it's all said and done. But he'll be in the defensive secondary next year.
Always seem to have that ball hawk, that somebody that goes after that, and Gaines is looking like he's filling that role. Of course, Frazier, we saw him take 98 yards last year.
Gaines is a tackler.
Yeah, and you always had, going back to Jermaine and years from past, there's always somebody that just and Coach, we talked about this at lunch the other day. There's folks that are just instinctually going to find the football.
Yeah, Jermaine was as special as they come. It's hard to you keep wanting another Jermaine to come along, and we've certainly had some really good ones. Adaya and Toot were really good those years. They were undersized, but boy, they were really good backers. And then, O last year, and now X is going to be a junior. We're hoping that he starts to step into that role. But, Jermaine was a special one. There's only so many Jermaines that you get to coach in your life. And we'll see. Hopefully there's a couple more.
Well, you got it. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. You see the smile on your face when you talk about players like that you see through the program.
Good memories, man. Brings back good memories of those guys and some of the things that they were able to accomplish in their time here. It was some good times.
Absolutely. And you look around the team, and there's people that are out there today that we'll be talking about 2 or 3 years from now that, and I don't say under the radar, but just haven't come and made their mark yet, but are waiting to do it.
You don't talk about them until they're gone. For me, I miss, I don't necessarily, I guess I really appreciate them once they're gone. It's like, golly, man, that kid was so valuable. He did so much, because you're getting the next group coached up, and it takes, a lot, and you finally get them trained up and ready to go, and then they graduate on you. So it's a never ending cycle of trying to get the next group ready to go. And there'll certainly be a lot of these kids that here in a couple of years that we're talking about all that they meant to the program. Obviously when the lights are on out there on the field, the things that they did, but for us, the things they did behind the scenes, the example that they set, the leadership that they provided. There's a lot of kids in this class that are about to graduate that we'll be talking about for a long time.
Well, and just a year ago, you talked about what a special freshman class you had. Might be one of your best one ever. Those guys are coming up to sophomores now. And I remember a group that you and I talked about that said, look, we're starting a lot of guys in the defense as sophomores and freshmen. And well, now they're playing on Saturdays now. And so you see that group. And in 5A, that's tough to count on a lot of younger players, but it sure does build up the depth and the experience.
Yeah, you just get to play with them for a long time. So,
right.
You take your lumps sometimes when they're young and you get your nose bloodied out there, but they're not going to be young forever. And they're going to be the old guy, and they're going to be the experienced. They're going to be the developed one. And it turns into a lot of fun when they're juniors and seniors. And so, we're at the point where we've always going to have a pretty good mix of that stuff, as far as, some years we graduated a lot on defense. There was a lot of seniors. When you pause it and you look at it, it's like,
right.
Man, there's a lot of good football players that were in those roles for us for a lot of years. And feel good about this group. Ultimately, defensively, we'll figure out a whole lot of it when we get the pads on and we get into playing real football. We're trying to evaluate in this 7-on-7 and all that we can, but there's only so much evaluation that you can do until, you figure out who's going to really tackle.
One of the, switching back over to the offensive side of the ball, one of the things that's been a trademark for you has been that H-back of late, has been that tight end of late. You got a new guy on staff that's coaching that group. Tell us a little bit about
Yeah,
that.
really excited about adding that. Coach Webb coming over and, known him for a long time, know the football mind that he is, know the fundamentals and just his ability to coach. And, so many times in coaching, when you put a staff together, you're mixing and matching, and some groups are, they don't necessarily have their own individual coach. So they're spending a little bit of time with this coach and a little bit of the time with this coach. So to be able to get a guy that, that's such an important job for us. That role on our football team is very, very important. So to add him to the mix and what he's fixing to bring to the table, we're really excited about. I know that I'm fired up about it.
Well, he's got to be fired up about the guys that he's going to be working with too. That's a special tandem you got there.
It's a good group. Obviously Grayson's playing, some defense, and Tanner will be a senior, but I mean, obviously Grayson's going to continue to play that tight end when we get into multiple tight end sets. And yeah, the fact that we've got both of those guys back, and then we got to develop a whole, another class behind them, because they're going to be walking out the door. So there's some young kids that are working their butt off and, are going to hit a growth spurt, and we got to make sure that we're developing that second, third, and fourth guy too.
One of those guys that have been special through the years is back home. We're going to get a chance to talk to him pretty soon. Is Shield Taylor, who's finishing things up out at Stanford, has been there, was going through everything that we do. And man, what an intriguing matchup week one is for Stanford as they host the Horned Frogs of TCU. So you're going to see Bud Clark and Shield Taylor back on the field again in week one. How about that?
A lot of fun. It's funny, as you mentioned that. Coach Free was watching Bud work out this morning, sending us videos. He was on vacation and traveling through and stopped at TCU and was watching, he texted me at like 5:40 this morning, about to watch Bud work out. And so he was sharing a bunch of pictures of Bud with the group. And, obviously, look, that's so much fun for us, to stay in touch with these guys, but to follow them, really from a distance. Want them to know that you're here and want them to know that you're supporting them, but also don't want to, like just follow them from afar, and really at the point where you just get to sit back and admire and love watching them chase their dream. And so, I'll certainly have that game on in week one. It'll be on these TVs here in the field house.
You're absolutely right. We'll take a look at it. Coach, this has been our week one preview, and we haven't even talked about West Feliciana in this. It seems like a coach's show where we get down to about the last 5 minutes of the show and talk about the upcoming week. But we want to make this our 2024 season preview kickoff, and you guys have West Feliciana, a trip down to the St. Francisville area. Tell me about how that game got on the schedule and what you look for out of the West Feliciana.
Can't remember all the details of it. You find out, hey, you looking for one? Yeah, I'm looking for one. And hey, let's go. All right, you want to be home the first year or whatever? Hey, I need this home. Like however you come about, and you're trying to balance the schedule where you can. But traditionally they've they're going to play 3-4 rounds deep every year. I can't remember how many years ago it was that they won the state championship. A lot of quality coaching, has been through there. A lot of quality athletes. A lot of guys that have been on to play college football. And from everything I can tell from the outside looking in, it's a football community. Like football is extremely important down there. So, we'll have our handful with the quality of athlete, the quality of coaching, and then, the commitment from the community. So I thought it was a good matchup.
Well, and you look up and down the schedule, all 10 weeks of it. You've got perennial state champions all throughout, and a couple of defending state champions that are on the roster. I think when I counted 3 of them, now Opelousas has their state title back on there. Things got a little tougher, and we'll look at that as we go along. But we're excited about that West Feliciana game. That game is week one, and it is down on the road. I think that's the weekend of the 6th, maybe
September 6th.
September 6th is when it is. Quick before we get out of here, the 2 weeks prior to that, you got the jamboree, the scrimmage. Tell me about? Take me through that.
Yep, we'll have Acadiana at home on the 20. Is that the 23rd? It sticks out of my mind. Whatever I want to say, it's the 23rd.
Yes, I think so.
I've got it up here, but I don't have a date next to it. But anyway, whatever that is, 2 weeks before the 6th. I think it's the 23rd. We'll have Acadiana at home.
So you've also got, but you've got St. Thomas More in there before that. Is that right?
No. So we had the every year they travel around the state and they do the Louisiana high school.
Right. The officials training.
Louisiana officials training or whatever. And I think that they had some people get some different jobs, and it kind of fell through this year, where they're going to get it back going in future years, and we're going to have an opportunity to host it. But yes, that was going to be the 16th, and there was going to be a lot of programs in here playing on that. But that is not going to happen this year. It'll happen in future years.
So we'll pull that off the schedule. August 23rd is your scrimmage against Acadiana, and then August 29th is Sterlington, and that's new.
Correct. Yep. Sterlington, they'll come to us to hear this first time. That's on a Thursday night. We'll play, and then the following year we'll return the trip. Of course, everybody that follows high school football can easily see the success that Sterlington's had and the job that they do up there. So I thought it was a good little matchup. I'm glad we get to play at home the first year. We'll worry about travel the next year, but know you're going to get a tough, physical, well-coached football team right there in the Jamboree. Kind of that final tune-up before you're in it where it counts the next week. So feel really good. I mean, going to play two physical football teams in the scrimmage and the Jamboree, and I feel like that prepares us, to get into the season.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Your idea of a tune-up and the average guy's idea of a tune-up, I don't think are the same thing. You say we're going to tune up with the Wrecking Rams and with Sterlington, and that's the way to jump into it.
If you're not ready to play, they will tune you up. It's
exactly right.
They're both really physical football teams, and I think that's a good thing. We'll figure out where our kids match up and how they want to match up with all that stuff. I think is really, really good. And traditionally, our kids have not backed down from all that, and they'll be ready for it, and looking forward to it.
Head coach Thomas Bachman joining us on what is going to be a regular Thursday night edition for us here. That just gets us ready for walk-ons and our Thomas Bachman show. So
be here soon, won't it? It'll be here soon.
Absolutely will. Head coach Thomas Bachman, thank you. We look forward to talking to you next week about that Union Parish game. That's always a heavyweight battle when they step onto the field, and we're ready for it. Coach, thank you. We'll talk to you again next week.
Appreciate you. Thanks, buddy.